Welcome to the Canara Woman podcast, where we amplify the voices of inspiring African women making waves across the globe. I'm your host, Lala Shearer Harris. So I'm super excited about today's episode because it coincides with the UK Black History Month, which is being celebrated in October every year. And to mark the occasion, I got a chance to talk to a true powerhouse, Flavilla Fongang, who is based in London and is a powerful advocate for diversity in tech. So from her Cameroonian roots to becoming a powerhouse in the UK, Flavilla's story embodies the spirit of resilience coupled with a growth mindset. So get ready to discover how she built multiple successful ventures, including her latest, Black Rise, and her strategies for personal branding that has opened multiple doors for her. So whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or looking to make a bigger impact, Flavilla's insights on intentionality, the power of trusting your gut, and creating your own destiny are sure to inspire you. Let's dive into this empowering conversation. Hello, hello. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you, darling?
I am doing awesome. I'm excited. And hello, listeners. I'm truly excited to be talking to Flavilla Fongang. She's a prominent, multi award winning serial entrepreneur known for advocacy for diversity, inclusion, particularly for Black women in technology. She's also an award winning founder of Three Colors Rule, a creative branding and marketing agency, and also the founder of the nonprofit organization Black Women in Tech. And she's also the founder of her latest venture, Black Rise, which we're going to get into. She's also a United Nations brand partner, multilingual keynote speaker, an author of multiple books, the host of two podcasts, and her work has earned her numerous accolades, including the recent Adweek The Future is Female Award, which is her third award this year alone. So, Favila, how are you doing? Really?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for this beautiful introduction. I don't think you've left any crumbs.
Oh, no, there are crumbs on your website. Anyone who wants more needs to go on your website. But when you hear
Oh,
all of that,
okay.
though, if somebody reads that, how do you feel about everything you've accomplished so far?
Honestly, it's a funny thing because I do not let any of this go to my head. I'm very much. I think this is something that I've learned as well from my partners that I don't. I appreciate the time and I'm grateful for what I have, but I'm always thinking about what's next. Yes, and that's probably just the mind of most entrepreneurs. You, is like, yeah, I can tick this box now. Okay, what's next? What's next? But actually, it's good as well to stay in the moment and appreciate what you have. But yes, I'm very grateful for recognition. I'm very grateful to be able to follow my dreams and my passion and do it and get paid for it, which is very important. It's good to have dreams. You have to make sure you can pay for it as well for your lifestyle.
Well, I think that's great. And I think because of that, I actually want to go all the way to the beginning and figure out how you got
Mm-hmm.
started. And so, what is
Mm.
your heritage? Which African country do you have your roots in? And how did that influence you in your journey?
Yes. Yeah, so I'm 100% Cameroonian. My parents were both born in Cameroon from two different tribes, which again a lot of people don't know that if you are from most African countries will have different dialects. So people come from tribe A, tribe B, tribe C, and sometimes that can be the difficulty. So the language that they speak will be the language of a colonizer, or if they can't communicate with each other. And so my mom was the it girl, my father was a it boy. And it's funny because I didn't realize that one of my second car was a Mini Cooper, and my father had exactly the same car. Imagine at that time of time of life having a Mini Cooper, you have to be a pretty it boy, right? Because it's not a cheap car, especially in
Right,
Africa.
right.
Try to try to convince her of a car, but my mom is not that type of girl. She's like, nah. She said no so many times, and fell in love with him when he designed and tailored their own dress. Which is my father was very versatile in the sense that he had multiple lives and done so many things with throughout his career. And I think I take a bit of him within my life. You carry the DNA of someone with you, and so I carry that. And then my father was the first to come to France, and ask my mom if she wanted to come too. I mean, who says no to Paris, right? So she said yes. And I mean, yeah, and I was born in Paris, and yeah, born in Paris. So I grew up with those two cultures, the French culture and the Cameroonian culture. So I'm very proud to be Cameroonian, and also have there's beautiful things as well about France. It's not all perfect, as we know, but it has things that we love, such as great fashion, great food, great environment. In terms of when it comes to being inspired and being an artist, this is definitely the place. And yes, and then I decided, crazy enough, to come to London, and the rest was history. I have no idea.
What age do you come to London?
I was 22 when I came to London, and
Oh
I didn't
wow.
speak a word. Yeah, I didn't speak a word of English, and but I was looking for. It was a bit of a dare to myself to say, you know what, let me go somewhere I've never been. And I think I've always been comfortable with the unknown. Most people play safe, but I've known for a very long, from a very young age, that magic happens and growth happens out of your comfort zone. So you see that I do a lot of things like how do you create a tech company? I have no idea, but I figure out. That's pretty much. But I'm very lucky to have people around me that support me. So even the directive has always been around that. Um, but yes, so I came to London. I didn't speak English, and I was doing a double degree. So I was doing a BA economics and law and a BA in marketing and communication at the same time, while trying to understand what people were telling me. So it was a lot of effort, a lot of concentration to be able to get it. And yeah, and having a boyfriend after a month did help. It's like, I don't understand what you're saying. What?
That is crazy. You couldn't speak. You, you couldn't speak English. He came to London and he had a boyfriend after a month of moving. So, and I think you touched on this a little bit, but I just want to make sure it's clear. What was the reason why you moved to London?
Reason why I moved to London, I didn't have. I think the main reason what was that I wanted to learn to speak English. I understood that English was a language of business, and I was good in all grades except from English. I think when we at school, we don't take language as seriously and don't realize how important it is to especially speak English. If you speak English, you can go anywhere in the world. You find somebody who will be able to help you. But if you speak just French, then you're limited by just countries where they speak French, and then you struggle. I mean, nowadays, thank God we have technology that helps us, but you can't always rely on the internet of technology. You have to rely on your own brain. So yes, for me, it was about in learning English. I was meant to go back after a year, but I stayed, and yeah, the rest is just.
And you're still based there. So, do you remember what you wanted to do when you were younger before you even moved to London? Because it sounds like you were very, very intentional about the move because you just mentioned that you wanted to speak the language of business. But do you remember what you wanted to be growing up in Paris with all the influences around you?
Yes, I would say that the reason why I was intentional is because I wanted to get out of a situation that I was not happy with. Because I think when I see people that come from Paris, they imagine, oh my gosh, you grew up very wealthy. It's not the case. I grew up in a ghetto of Paris, and I need to reinforce that. So it means that I had one pair of shoes per year, and I had to look after it. And but my mom would say, like, choose whatever pair you want, but remember that's your only pair for the year. So I had to be good with this, right? So I was very intentional because I was ambitious and I wanted to come out of a situation that I was in. I wanted to have my freedom, go somewhere else, and it was that. So and this is why for me, my mom always told me that your first husband is your education. If you continue to learn, you'll never be out, you'll never be in trouble. And I really understood that very, very fast and helped me with everything that I've done in my life. When you come from from modest background where you are limited, you're driven, and you look at people who create great businesses. They are immigrants, they are people move and shakers, and they dream big, they wanted to start something different. And I'm still this, and I was and I'm still this person who were very intentional because the past that I didn't want this to be my future. So I wanted to create a vision that I didn't have, which if I stay where I was, would have not helped me where I wanted to be. But actually, it's funny. I say that because my partner said to me, like, "Do you think you would still be this person that you are if you stay in Paris?" And I think I would have still be. I don't know if I would have been an entrepreneur, but I'd probably be a corporate rat. I would have get to the top, like, who do I need to how do I get to the CEO position? Like, tell me how to get there. I don't know, but yeah, it's funny.
Wow. And so you moved to London and then you got a whole bunch of degrees, if I remember, 3 degrees or so, right? You got degrees in
Mhm.
economics and law, marketing and communication, a master's in international business. And then you started your professional journey in oil and gas, which is very different from where
Correct.
you are. So, how did you even get into oil and gas?
Yeah. So the journey to oil and gas was not as straightforward as you can imagine because when I graduated, I was very qualified in terms of academically qualified, but in terms of experience, I was useless. I didn't do any internship, and this is why I always like to take interns and support them and so forth. So I didn't do any of those things. I just thought that, oh, having degrees would get me a job. Reality is like, no, it doesn't. It doesn't do that. It doesn't do that at all because it makes you expensive because you wanna. If you have a master's, people will expect you to have a certain expectation in terms of your salary, and when you say, oh, I want to earn less, people think, oh, they're never gonna stay. That's what they so they create all these things, right? So I struggled a lot. I had to do all sorts of small jobs and worked, in retail and all sort of things. I even did door to door sales, which was the hardest. I did that for 2 weeks. I was selling at the time. I was selling telephone contract, which was an experience, and I learned a lot about body language in terms of how you can use your body language to emphasize a message. And I see the people you can say "I love you" or you can say "I love you." It's the same words,
Mm.
but the intonation of my voice doesn't have the same meaning. And so I learned that, and that was my journey to understanding the power of sales. And what would you say to you? Yes, I applied. The reason why I find myself in oil and gas because I applied as a receptionist. That's what I could find. A reception People were happy to pay me little money because for me it was like, okay, that's fine. I'll take a receptionist position, and then as soon as I'm in, I work my way up. And I chose the startup which were very ambitious. So people were getting promoted 6 months, bam, okay, you're great, let's go to the next thing. I was like, oh, I like that. So I can make it to the top. And then in 2 years I was managing my own department. I was managing the client services department. So this company was known for doing international events in oil and gas, and there were international events across the world. So in Africa, in the Middle East, in Asia, in South America, Europe, you name it, we were everywhere, and we were obviously where the money was. And Nigeria was one of them. And this is how I found myself, in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Algeria, and different locations, but also in Asia, Singapore, in South America, Brazil, and so on and so on. And really, the more I travel, the more I realize how narrow-minded I was, because I had a perception that the way I think of the way I do things is the universal way. But the more you travel, you realize that, oh, people don't act such a way. So you need to understand cultural differences to be able to do business with different people. And if you don't have that international experience, it's really hard. And then you wonder why you can't close business. So you know that if you do business in Germany, coming on time is crucial. If you do business in Nigeria, timing is pretty much a bracket, right? So don't get upset. People
Right.
say free every 5. So all these things that you have to learn and so forth, right? So, and that was my journey into oil and gas, which was a lot of fun.
Wow. So you
Yeah.
went from what I heard you say was you had these degrees, 3 degrees, including the master's. You decided to take on the receptionist job after your door to door experience, where you lasted for only 2 weeks, but you took your learnings and you were able to pivot from there and travel the world and gain more experience and more exposure. But that's not what you're doing today. And then I know at some point you also went into fashion consultancy. And obviously, there's a lot of early influences that could probably have dictated that. But something I want to dive into because I want to get to where you are today is, um, and you can talk about the fashion consultancy as well. But what I want to dive into, which is the heart of this podcast, the kara, which is destiny in Yoruba. Every successful person that I've met now through this platform had a pivotal moment in their life, the moment of clarity, the moment where they realized there was more to them, there was more they're supposed to be doing. With your experience, with everything you've done, when did that happen in the corporate world, so to speak? And how did you get to the pivotal moment where you realized your true passion, your purpose?
It's funny because for me, I do not have one pivotal moment. I think I have many.
Okay.
Like my name Flavilla is also a butterfly. So
Ooh.
it's a Argentinian Brazilian butterfly. So, and I always say to people, be careful of the name you give to your children, it influences them. So for me, I've always believed that I have a moment where I need to accomplish something. What is the next thing that I need to move on? And this is probably why I've pivoted so many times from oil and gas, fashion, technology, and then now being focused about, focusing on supporting the Black community in business. So I always feel that there's a, life is like chapters. You don't open a book and just read one chapter. You do something and then something else happened that changed, and so you keep on pivoting, right? And the magic and the beauty of being a human being is to be able to live your life. It's something fulfilling that, if somebody was picking up your book of your story, would they get excited about the ups and downs, the number of times maybe you almost died and you survived, and had you stood back on your feet. And for me, that pivotal moment going from oil and gas to fashion started really much when I really realized that when I was going to the supermarket in my tracksuit bottom, the people didn't treat me the same way than when I was going in my suit. I was like, oh.
Mm.
And I really realized that the way I dress changed the way people are dressed to me. And it was more than just a superficial look. It was very much in terms of, okay, that's interesting. In terms of how can you apply that in business? And that's why as well, from working in fashion, I realized again something, you can have a great business, but a great brand is something else, right? And that's so important in terms of how I do things, is that what am I supposed to learn? The same thing, the pivot from fashion stylist to then starting my own agency without any experience in the agency space, and then from the agency space starting a CSR supporting Black women, and then pivoting into non-profit. Is being I think it's naturally having that moment where you realize something is missing, and you're creating a demand that people really want, or you're not the only one who wants it, and nobody has taken ownership of deciding to do it. So you're gonna have to be the one do it. It's like for me, it's really like why is nobody doing this? Okay, let me do it. Why is nobody doing this? Okay, let me do it. That's pretty much how I see things, right? And I mean, there's a lot of things that I want to do that I can't, because otherwise I create a business every day and I can't. But I want to be able to. I think it's very important to be able to just feel the moments. Like when God gives you that moment, take it. He's putting an idea seed into your mind. Are you ignoring it, or are you following the mission that He's giving you to do on earth? No, my first business was my fashion consultancy. So just to give you a bit of a background, so Free Colors Wool was initially created as a fashion consultancy before I shifted the definition of a business to an agency. So when you look very old, if you do some old research, we see a lot of me being a fashion consultant, because I used to work with luxury brands or retail brands and so forth. And so that, so Free Colors was my first official business, right? And but that same business became an agency. So yeah, that's what happened.
Okay, so it became a brand and marketing agency, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm
Correct.
guessing that was just a business decision to switch the clientele that you were serving at the time.
Yeah. So what I have is that every time I have a aha moment, it's all about, are you comfortable with the situation that you are in? Or do you want to elevate it? So for me, fashion consultancy was great, but if I didn't work, I wasn't getting paid. Right. So I was like, okay, that's not really sustainable. And I was like, I need to do something else. And then that's when, and again, my partner at the time, I always talk about him because we're still good friends. And I said to him, why is your why do you have a boiler on your website? He said, that's what I do. I said, okay, that's what you do, but that's not what you sell. Even I was giving a lecture a couple of weeks ago, and people say, oh, I provide trust. Okay, that's what you do, but that's not what you sell. What you sell is legacy. What you sell is protection of your family legacy. So you want to leave something behind, and people don't realize that there's a big difference in the messaging that you do. And I loved it. I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. I love this. So let me, again, something like I'm a student of life. So I was like, let me go Amazon, my best friend. Let me go and get some books on Amazon, read some books and learn about this. So a lot of things that I've done has been for self teaching.
Hmm.
So you don't necessarily have to go back into a degree. You can learn. There's a lot of great. books will teach you about things, and then you read different books and you see which what is coming back, what are the elements that keep coming back, and then okay, that seems to be like something that keeps coming back. That makes sense, and so you just follow blindly. But yeah, so my first business was Free Colors Well, and it's still there.
So, what made you, and I don't want to skip over this, what made you decide to leave? Because you said you were in oil and gas for 8 years. What made you leave that corporate cocoon into venturing into your own thing? Or did you start Three Colors Rule on the side and then you eventually left corporate? How did that transition happen?
Yeah, I think the company that I was with was not was too small for my ambition,
Mm.
and I couldn't go any higher. And I had two choices: either I could go and work for another company, or I can do my own thing. And I kind of chose entrepreneurship, so it was a no-brainer. And also, when you have a CEO who is not a great CEO, that really inspired me in terms of how I wanted to treat my employees. Not be okay. I'm in a bad mood. Everybody's gonna be treated like shit. Sorry to swear. Or I'm in a great mood. Okay, everybody champagne. My personal thing should not affect how I treat my employees, right? So for me, that was very important. I learned a lot about. Again, something like you can learn about people and do replicate the bad behavior, or you can say, well, that's not good. I want to do better than this. All right. So that was for me the reason why I left. I was like, corporate space is not for me. Time to leave. Time to do my own things.
So was it that easy for you to leave? Because you're leaving the safety of a paycheck, and that's where a lot of people get stuck, right? But I mean, how did you overcome that? What emotions were you going through even in that decision making period of saying, okay, I have all these, you see all this, you see the CEO that is, has some opportunity to be a better leader, you see the gaps, you have this idea for a business on the side. How did you make that mental shift? What was the emotions you were going through? Because you're making it sound easy, but it couldn't have been easy.
No, it's not easy. So first thing first is good to, if you decide to start your business, have a financial pillow, right? So for me, I have myself 6 months of if something didn't work out, I can go back. So I give myself 6 months of that. And also I started my transition when I was still employed. So I started doing fashion consultancy when I was there. So I started because I didn't have experience. So what I did is that let me charge a little so I can have testimonials. So when I create my website, I have something to prove that I'm good at what I do. So then when I go, full time, then I have a good examples of what I've done, da, 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 and so on. So that transition started, overlap each other. So I was like, okay, well, I'm planning to leave. Let me start saving that money. And at the same time, start doing this work. And then I was like, whoop, it's time to let go now. I have 6 months saving. Bye, everybody. See you later. Hasta la vista. So I was gone.
So, so you start Three Colors Rule. It's a fashion consultancy. It becomes a brand and marketing consultancy. It becomes an award brand and marketing. Nope, not
No.
that.
So started Frequel as well become a fashion consultancy. When I keep meeting women, so when I do my events, because I've always been into the event space, I've always done events for a very long time. And when I keep meeting women, say, I want to do what you do. I was like, huh? I was like, you want to be a fashion stylist? I said, there's nothing out there to teach you. So I want to learn from you because you're a black woman and I'm a black woman. I want to learn from you. I was like, oh, okay. And then other people were not only black women came to me. It's like, let me take everything that is in my head and make a course, right? So I was like, let me create now a free course of fashion academy. So then fashion consultancy became a fashion academy where I would teach people around the world online how to start their own career. And like I learned, so they learn about color analysis, they learn about wardrobe styling, they learn about personal shopping, they learn about body shaping. So all of that was divided. Like, so if you wanted to be a wardrobe stylist, you can take this course. If you wanted to be a personal shopper, you learn about this, how to negotiate deals with different brands, and so on and so on. If you want to be if you wanted to be a fashion stylist, we have all these schools. You learn about color. Color is such an important thing, whatever it is, individuals or businesses, right? So I was teaching that, and it was great. I was like, oh, this is a good thing. And
So,
again, I got tired. I got tired of it, right? So the mistake that I did is that I kept the fashion consultants, the fashion training, and the agency, and people are getting confused. It's like, why when I type Freckle as well, I have to choose between fashion academy and agency? So I was like, I have to let go of one of them, and I let go of the fashion academy, and then I made a book out of that, and yeah, it slowly
and
disappeared
what was the
because
book called?
it was just like, yeah, but I had to be, I had to become a fashion stylist. It was nothing original. We didn't put it
Oh,
on. I should have put it on Amazon. Shit.
yeah. But what I just heard you say is you were basically creating content, courses, and a book before it became this thing that it is today. So you've always been at the forefront of just promoting yourself, which we'll get to in a second. And so you do the pivot, or you made the decision to focus on just the agency. And just to switch gears for a second, you also have a lot of impact in nonprofit where you wanted to influence beyond just businesses. And you are actually, you are the founder of the largest European nonprofit dedicated to Black women, professional women in tech, which is called Black Women in Tech. Is that correct?
Yeah, GTA, Global Tech Advocates Black Women in Tech.
Like GTA. And so, why was that important for you to start? How did you come up with the idea to do that?
So yes, so the agency was the starting point. So we used to tell our clients, and and still tell them, be clear in terms of your niche. Pick a niche that is big enough so people see you as the go-to brand for technology companies or FMCG brands. And we were not following the same advice because of my background in energy, in fashion, in luxury. So I had a mixture. I said, wait a minute, hold the phone. Let's apply what we preach. And then technology was a focus because also we love technology because it was impact at scale. So it was fantastic, right? So yes, when we did that, we realized let's go be further and go out there and do some campaigns. And I've always been accustomed to being the only woman in the room. And then when I get in fashion, it's normal, right? So I'm mainly women. Okay, that's fine. Or or men, and then in oil and gas, mainly men in a suit. So when I got into tech, thinking that can't be happening again. It doesn't make sense. Where are the women? Especially technology has such a massive impact on everything that we do. And again, where are the black women? And I just thought, okay, let's figure out how we can help them do that. And it was part of the CSR of Three Colors Rule. And it was just a small community. We had social page. We just say that we do event on a regular basis if you want to come. And it kept getting bigger, 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 bigger. It's like, what's going on? Where are you coming from? And then I remember our first client was Deutsche Bank say, "We want to sponsor your event." I'm like, "What?" It's like we did not even set up as a business. I had to go to my account like, "Let's register on company house. Let's do this." And they said, "Can you send us your invoice? We need to pay your invoice." Like, give us some time. We'll send you the invoice, okay? So don't worry about it. We'll send it to your invoice. So just a time for me to open a bank account. Da, 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 da. And then we send the invoice, and the event happened, and it was so happy. And yeah, it all happened during COVID. So again, it wasn't intentional, but again, it's my ability to say, oh, wait a minute, poop, there's something there. Can I transform it into something else? So, do you see I would say people, do you see problem or do you see solutions? If you are solution minded, you will see innovation. If you are problem minded, you will just see problems and constraint and anxiety. So you have to see it differently. If you live your life with seeing solutions, then you can come out of that so much better.
So it's been a thread that I'm hearing so far, and we're
Mm.
almost halfway through this conversation. How did you develop the eye to spot opportunities, but also discern which opportunity to go after? Because you can see a lot of things, like you said earlier in the conversation. You said you could have a business every day. How do you know which ones to go after as well?
Yeah, good question. I think that my eye for seeing opportunities come from fashion because when you're in a fashion space, you are continually wired to every time having to create every 6 months. You have to create a new collection, learn of spring, summer, autumn, winter, da 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 da, and then you have the mid season, da da da, and so on. So when you're a fashion stylist, when you have your client in front of you, a great fashion stylist can see the potential of a client in front of them. So somebody comes the very wrong
Mm.
color, the wrong shade. Your eye is supposed to like, okay, let me see you beyond what you are right now. So that's how I see it. So, and I'm able to see. I've always been able to see like people's potential before they see them. It's like you'll be good at this. You don't see it, but you'll be good at this. And that's how I've seen people like starting podcasts. Like you'd be good at this. Have you considered this? You'd be good at this because I can see it, right? And then around the aspect of what opportunities or to follow is always by research. I'm not going to jump in and like, yeah, I'm going to do it. At the end of the day, I'm a marketer. So good marketers always do research before they jump in. It's like, I'm planning to do this. What do you think about it? So I will always go and voice out an idea in front of the right audience, not the naysayers and the pessimist, and say, I'm planning to do this. Who's interested? If it's not people interested, then I do it. If you're not, then I just keep it. So you never jump just on your own personal. you know, thing. Unless you're an artist and you don't care if you have one or two people who love your what you do, that's fine.
It sounds like, again, it's like you're learning from every single experience. You got this, you leaned into this opportunity or this superpower in through fashion. And then just taking it back again to Black women in tech. I know you also have a book series called Voices in the Shadow, right? But are there other experiences that motivated you to just keep pouring into this platform? Because you could have done it once, it was nice. Yes, you got the sponsorship, and you were busy already. But what made you keep going?
Because there's so many of us. I think what really just really upset me when it comes to the black narrative, it's always driven by, not always, I would say always driven, but when you think about history of black people in Western countries, it's always driven by slavery. And I want to change that mindset that people have about what is our heritage. But also, we can't beat what we can't see, unless there's few people who feel like me that nobody's doing it, I'm going to do it. But most people need to feel inspired to be able to think that they can do it too, right? So the more you normalize those stories, the more people think they can do it too. And it's super, super duper important to not just do it for ourselves, but also can we make an impact. I'm always been impact driven, that's for sure. The more I talk to you about this, I think is that when you come from limitations, and when I talk about limitation, that you're not born with with a silver spoon in your mouth. You have to be very creative in your survival mode, right? How can I make how can I make the best of that chicken? So this chicken that the dried chicken that has been here, that been eaten for 3 days. On this third night, I'm gonna make a chicken soup out of this. Right? On the first night, it was a nice and juicy. Whatever is less left is the carcass and the dry part. Can I make a chicken soup out of this? So that mindset of that, what can I make out of what is in my disposal, always helped me to be creative. And I think by nature, I come from a family of creative people, so it's somehow in my DNA, to just create. It's just normal for me.
And Voices in the Shadow, those book series, you're on. How many years have you been doing that? You give out free books to secondary schools in the UK and Ireland, right?
Yeah, so four
And
books so far. So we're
four
producing
books,
our fourth
okay,
book this year. Yeah, so 4 years we've been doing it. I mean, like,
that's amazing.
so GTA Black Women Tech is 5 years. We've been doing it since we started doing it from the first year. I know after our first year, it's like, you know what, there's too many great black women that I've never heard. And I couldn't stop at one, at just 51 stories when there's so many more. It's like, where are all these women coming from? And they keep appearing like from nowhere. It's like, where have you been? So I just thought that we just carry on. So we committed ourselves for 10 books. So for the next 10 years, we're going to do this. And so we'll see what happens.
No, I love the initiative, and I think that's probably why you got recognized for being one of the most influential tech women in the
Yeah,
UK, which you probably didn't even see that coming. That wasn't your goal.
no.
Do you remember when you got that award, that recognition?
I, I, I do remember. But again, this doesn't really excite me. I'm more excited about the change that I can make on people's life. Like getting recognized is great, fantastic. And I say thank you so much, and I'm grateful. And then I move on to what for me is important. So the attention, I'd never do it for the intention of being rewarded, and so forth. I do more for the intention of changing somebody else's life. That I really want. I think for me, what breaks my heart the most is that people not being able to achieve a full potential. God gives you, the possibility to achieve, to do something with your life, and sometimes a system creates limitation into your mind, and you freeze. And I want to defreeze people to be able to do all the great things that they're capable of doing. They just have to believe, and the rest is magic. Okay, it's not magic, it's hard work.
No, but that is essentially part of why this podcast was created, right? To amplify those kind of stories, to let people know that everything you need is within you, and it's up to
Yeah.
us to bring it out and do what we need to
Mm.
do with it. So I appreciate you actually saying that. And so,
Yeah.
again, very busy woman, Flavilla, and you're doing a lot of work. You're getting a lot of recognition, and I know that's not why you're doing it. But there's still one more venture that we haven't talked about, which is your latest venture,
Mhm.
Black Rise.
Yes.
So I want you, in
Mm.
your own words, to tell me and listeners what Black Rise is and why you started the platform.
Yes, I'm going to start by why I started the platform. So, the launch of GTA Black Women in Tech, I never thought that it would take us this far, but we started just in London, and then we expanded across the UK, and then we opened in Ireland, and then we opened in France, and then this year we opened in Germany. I think was what really fascinated me is that it wasn't just me, it was the desire and the drive for people to see us going places, and what we brought into their lives, a place where they could connect and achieve so much more. And being black in the corporate space in Western countries, it's so lonely. And you find a place where you can be with other people that can you can relate to, where you can share, and you can share knowledge and share opportunities. I found that it was beyond me. It was no longer my brand, it belonged to the people. And we became a 23,000 strong community. I was like, wow, this is amazing. And I thought that because of men were asking me, like, what about us? Was the called Black Women in Tech? I can't really make it. Everybody's welcome, obviously. I said, what about us? But what? Oh, I was just like, I would love to come to an event, but I'm not a woman in tech. I'm like, okay, there's something else there. I always admire communities that have managed to thrive, and build generational wealth. I'm talking about the Indian community. I'm talking about the Jewish community, the Asian community. How they know each other. And one of our biggest weakness as Black people is that we're so scattered because of tribes, countries, da da da, Nigerian, Ghanaian, da da da. And then you go into Nigeria, Yoruba. Blah, blah. I mean, it doesn't end, right? And how is that serving us? And you say you divide to conquer. So now I'm trying to bring us back together through the magic of technology. And this is how Black Rise was born. Black Rise was born with a mission to help Black talent in business connect, share knowledge, people who have achieved success, or the chess game, the chess game to achieve success and opportunities. Because the people are there, and I've looked in terms of my own personal circle in terms of how have I been able to work with some of the biggest brands around the world, is because somebody made an introduction. Somebody say you have to make sure that Flavilla is there. Those people say my name was not in the room because they trust me and they believed in me and they didn't share, they didn't keep that opportunities for themselves. Like, I'm gonna help you and so forth. And I think it all started with Black women in tech because with Black women, as you know, is probably the most undervalued human on earth. And those Black women that helped and put in on the limelight of his book became them my my soldiers, my army, my supporters. Like, I'm gonna get you, and some of them invest in Black Rise, and it's so beautiful that I didn't have to go far and chase money, which I would have failed if I didn't have a network, right? And that's why people, when I hear people say, "Oh my
Mm,
gosh, no money is being given to Black people," is because we don't have a network. We don't have the people who have the money. We need, and it's harder to convince somebody who doesn't know you than somebody who knows you. Let me say, okay, Flavilla, when you ready, tell me, I got you. I was like, you don't want to see my deck? No, 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 I got you. I know you're gonna do well, and that's powerful, right? And that's why I say to people, like, you
yes.
don't build your network for today. You build it for tomorrow.
Yes, yes. No, wow. So there's a lot to unpack there. But before we go off of Black Rise, you also have a podcast to support this, and you also have a book coming out as well, right? To
Correct.
amplify the
Correct.
message of
Yes.
Black Rise. Okay.
Yes.
And when is the book coming out?
So, so the book is coming out this October. So if you listen to this podcast after October 2024, it came out. So it's on Amazon. It's on Amazon. So we were inspired by the stories of the podcast and decided to create some fictional stories with different lessons and strategies. So the strategies then transform into a story so people can apply it. And then part of the beginning of the book starts with how to build generational wealth, the six pillars to building generational wealth. I'm gonna try to remember, right. So one of them is community, one of them is philanthropy, one of them is entrepreneurship, one of them is education, one of them is investment, and the last one is financial literacy. I didn't say about it, but if you have those three pillars, you do very, very well. And that's the secret to building generational wealth.
Wow. Well, I'm excited, and I know this book is probably going to launch during the UK Black History Month, which I learned about recently, which is October.
Mm,
And so
yeah.
definitely, I'm sure this is going to coincide with that celebration or recognition. Before we leave the Black Rise platform, I'm curious to know, because you started this in 2023, I'm curious to know if you've had any unique challenges and opportunities that you've encountered while you were developing the tech, right? This was an app. This is an app right now. Have you had anything surprisingly come up while you were building something specifically for the Black community?
Not really. I think. Oh, actually, I'm lying. I had people say like, "Why only black?" It's like, and I keep saying that anybody can join. The only thing that I'm putting on the pedestal, black people, because on the platform we have known black people, right? So people were there. But if you're intentional about working with black talent, or hiring, or hiring as suppliers, or hiring as employee, then this is your space. Because you hear so many times, like, "Oh, I can't find black talent." Oh, really? Okay, well, you no longer have an excuse. You know where to go. You know where to find it, and there it is, right? So that's super important. So yes, that happened, and I think people try to pivot me that, oh, your idea is so great, it can be applicable to everybody. I'm like, and you can make more money. And again, something like, if you don't have values, you can say, okay, let's chase the money, let's be for everybody. And I'm like, and I really had to question myself. For me, it's like, do I really want to be for everybody? I was like, you know what? No. Plus, I already trademarked the name. It's like, going it to change again. So yes, so
Okay. Well, there is something you said when you were talking about Black Rise, and you said, and let me make sure I get this right. You said people were saying your name in the rooms that you were not in. You had a network that was available for you to tap into to raise money.
mm,
That if you had not had that network to tap into, you wouldn't have been able to do that. And so, with all these incredible initiatives, I think your personal brand was probably what helped you navigate all those
yeah.
different challenges and opportunities. And so I met you in Cannes this year at the
Mm,
Cannes Lion Festival of Creativity, and I could see your personal brand even in effect. And I just met you, and I just thought it was amazing how you were able to just stand out, even in rooms where you didn't know anybody, and it was just amazing to see that. But I'm curious to know how you figured out that was your superpower and how you were able to capitalize on that on building your personal
mm.
brand.
I think when it comes to personal brand, is that if you do it for yourself, you'll be very self conscious. But if you do it with the intention of helping somebody else, you will do it anyway, and that will remove the fear. So for me, is that being driven by the why. I have a purpose, I have a mission to accomplish. Then who's going to do it if it's not me, right? So I let go of the fear, I let go of the all the ifs in the world, and I go for. I think that's for me, is that I've learned, like, how you become so fearless is that, what is the worst that can happen? And I say to myself, like, what is the worst that can happen? And I always say to myself, like, people don't even remember what they had for breakfast last week. If you say something wrong, or they
Mm.
say no. If they say no, they say no. If they say yes, then brilliant. But you miss all the chances that you never take, right? So if you don't ask, you don't get, and you'd be very surprised how many people are ready to help, um, but you'd never ask. So a lot of things that I ask, people say, "Oh, some people came for me for investment. Some of them I asked them." It's like, okay, great. Sometimes you have to go. Others like, you know what? Why are you not investing? What are you waiting for? And so forth. I say, yeah, and so forth. And I push a little bit. I'm a salesperson at the end of the day as well.
Yeah.
So
Speaking
like,
of speaking
yeah,
of saying no though, I was right
yeah,
there when you asked a very popular marketer and you were pitching Black Rise and she said no. And I thought you did the
mm,
most incredibly brave thing. And you went on LinkedIn and you talked about that experience because you wanted to document what rejection looked like, but that doesn't mean it should stop you. Do you want to talk about even your
mm,
decision to, for lack of a better word, put this person on blast? And you can say the person's
yeah,
name if you want to.
yeah. Is it Bozoma? Yeah, Bozoma. Cause yeah.
Yeah.
So Bozoma was
Yeah.
Bozoma. Yeah. And things that you have to respect people's time. It's that people don't have to tell you yes. See what I mean? Like, I
Right.
don't take. That's why I don't take things personally. Like, maybe I'm not for you. Maybe you are on a different path right now. Because people come to me all the time, like, "Can you mentor me?" And the first of us, like, you're not even approaching mentoring the right way. And I say all the time, like, people, you need to learn to ask quality questions. If you want a mentor, that's not the way of getting a mentor. It doesn't work. You don't go and approach somebody random that doesn't know you. Oh, can you support me? You're basically waiting for somebody to save you. That's what you're telling. And I was like, mentoring is not about saving you. It's about guiding you to greatness. Super important. So people need to feel that you already there. You just need to be given the slight directions to adjust it. But it's up to you to do the work. Yes. So I think people, part of success comes over failures that people forget or don't see, right? They say, oh my gosh, you're so lucky. It's like, there's no luck into this. It's me waking up at 6 o'clock. It's me working sometime until 10 in the evening. That's, if you call that luck, please be out there, take the same luck that I have done, right? Luck is like staying at home and winning, and not even playing the lotto, and somebody tells you like, "Oh, I found a suitcase with 10 million pounds. Do you want it?" That is luck, right? The thing that you do every day increases your chances of converting and achieving what you want. But you have to be comfortable. And for me, as I expect the no's, and the no, every no gets me closer to a yes. I was like, okay, so and then you calculate it. You can calculate everything. You can say, okay, I know that. And that's what you learn when you do sales, like, or a marketer. You know that you're gonna need to approach 300 people to convert 10 of them. So you say, okay, well, the no's are part of the process. But if I approach nobody, then I get nothing, right? Or if you don't approach enough people, then you're not going to convert enough. So when you understand the metrics of success, it's like, okay, I know if I approach 5 people, one of them will say yes. So I need to keep approaching and approaching. And again, you remember that methodology you actually told me when I was kind of like, you make a request, one of the top requests. If they say no, you should have a second option. And then you should have a third option at that point. They say no once, they say
Yes.
no second time. The third time, they have to say yes. Otherwise, it's just evil.
Oh,
Um,
well, no, let's clarify. You were doing it, but I put a formula behind it, right? I just told you the psychology of what you were doing because I saw you do that when we were talking to the guy from SNL. And I just to make sure we're clear for the listeners, you had already you were talking to him. I met you from another meeting, and I saw maybe the tail end of that conversation, and I just said, "Oh, that was amazing what you just did." And you told me all the things you asked for and what he said yes to, and I said, "Oh, all you did was give him three options, right? Which was basically the very high end, your pretty much pie in the sky ask, and then you had the middle ground, and then you had a very low yes. So he's forced to say yes in a way. The question is, what is he going to say yes to? And you got a yes. You got him to advertise Black Rise for free, which you posted on LinkedIn as well. Remember? So you already did it, but it was just understanding what you're doing and being intentional again, and even in how you ask. I love that because when you did that post, and I was telling somebody about it, like, oh my god, why would she go put this person out and call them out of, you didn't call them person out of their name. You actually respectfully did it. I thought it was very well done. I liked it because you were showing what rejection looked like, and there's nothing wrong with that. Because to your point earlier, people talk about success stories, and you don't get the no's and I don't want to call them failures. I call them lessons learned in between. So being part of your journey as you build Black Rise, I just thought that was so on brand. And then just one more thing before we move off of something else is for anyone listening who wants to start their own personal brand, what is the one thing, pivotal strategy that they could do to get started? What would you advise them to do?
if people were saying your name in the room and you were not there, what would you want them to say about you? That's the rule number one. When people you're not in the room, what do you want people to say about you when you're not in the room? When you think about Trump, something comes to your mind. When you think about, Barack Obama, something comes to your mind. And I think it's important to know is like, how do you want people to remember you? Then you go from that. You have to have clarity. And then from that point, you build your strategy, then you build your identity, and then you go out there and create the content. So it's very clear that you need to know in terms of what do you want to be known for? People know me as a marketer who also, is very black focused. That's very simple. I'm a marketer, creative person who understand branding, has a background in technology, understand how to use that to advance as well. The success of black people. That's what people know me for, and therefore, everything that I do is align with this.
Yeah,
If you're not
that's
in the
that's
room,
awesome. Thank
what if you're not in the room? What do you want people to say about you? How do you if someone if you let somebody introduce you, what would they say about you? It's a good
Right.
test actually. Let people let somebody introduce you. It's like, how would you introduce me? When you know what they know about you, how they perceive you. It's like, interesting. Okay. Yeah.
That is a
So
good exercise, actually. Yeah, and you make sure
Mm.
it's not just family when you're doing that exercise because it's very biased.
Mm. Yeah.
Okay, so switching gears here, where we talked about personal branding, we talked about everything you built. I'm now curious to understand, and you touched on it in some parts, but I'm really curious to understand the mindset that keeps you going because you talked about wanting to leave a not so great situation when you're growing up. You talked about being intentional about speaking the language of business when you came to London and why you came to London. You talked about seeing opportunities, but what would you say are some of your success habits that have just kept you going?
I think very simple. I think for me is that I'm driven by family, and building my own legacy. I want to be able to leave something that makes an impact for me and people that are part of it. So I'm very big. My family is very important to me. And my mom have made such a amount of sacrifice, and I can't disappoint her. You know, my mom as the first child when she was 16 years old, she's always been surrounded by her children, and for me, she's my first driving force. You know, I want to make sure that I give something back for what all the sacrifice that she's made for myself. I'm proud of myself, but I also want to be proud. My mom always makes me laugh. She always brag about the fact that I have a master's. I was like, do you know that master's is for what? Like, I tell everybody that you have a master's.
I
That
was just about to ask, does she know about everything you've accomplished? And what does she
that she's
say
my
to that?
super. You know that person who likes all your posts? That's my mom. That's that one.
Oh, I love
I
that.
must have that. Yeah.
Wow. How
Mm.
have you, again, because of everything you've accomplished, I'm sure you've had times when you made a bad decision, made a bad move.
Mm.
How did you recover from that?
I think what's important about everything that don't go as you plan it is to learn the lessons. It's not just like, oh, damn it. It's like, what am I supposed to learn in this moment? And then if you don't learn anything from it, you're gonna keep doing the same mistakes. So that's super, super duper important to learn from it. And life is about that. Life comes ups and downs. You have to learn to adapt to the good moment and the bad moment, and believe on it. Believe in yourself that you will come out stronger. You will come out, with another chapter of your life that make your book so amazing, right? I did an exercise called the life book. It's fantastic. It's part of on the Mind Valley. If anybody don't know Mind Valley program, there's something called the life book, and I highly recommend. No promotion, I'm not getting paid for that, but I really really thought it was brilliant. Is that, one thing that, when you're successful, and there's a lot of I wouldn't say a lot, with so many black women out there who are single and think that, it had to be difficult to find love. And for me, at some point, I thought it was difficult. It's like, oh my gosh, I've accomplished in every area when it comes to relationship, becomes, because more successful you are, the more you have high standard, right? And this book really showed me that you can really control even your life in terms of how intentional you are. So the way, that, if you want to get a sale, you have to make those calls, you have to send emails, you have to do da 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 and so on. The same way, if you want to have a relationship, what are things that you need to undertake on a regular basis to achieve get closer to the person that you want to meet. And that is so key. And obviously now my situation has changed and so forth. But you can, I think that prayers and, whether you believe in God or the universe, be intentional. I think when you're intentional, you get what you want. If you don't know what you want, the world will decide for you.
Mm, yes,
Very
because
important.
yes, I totally agree with that because there's a decision, a trade off that's happening either way, whether you're aware of it or you're not, but it's something that's happening. So, great, great point there. How do you find balance and stay true to yourself when you're wearing all these different hats? Black Rise, Black Women in Tech, even Three Colors Rule, and probably all the other ventures you haven't mentioned. How do you stay balanced? How do you stay true to Favela?
Yeah, I think you set rules. You have to set rules for yourself and respect them. So, rule number one is I always have 7 hours sleep. No matter what happens, like sleep is very important to me. Rule number two is that, yes, true. Rule number two is that if it's one day of the week, I don't work. There's no work involved. Yeah, like on Sunday I would do a bit of preparation for the week after. So one day of the week I do not work. So Saturday is usually the day I don't touch my laptop. And then And then for that, and I think the thing that is very important is that do not be the burden of your own business. What I mean by that is that everybody should be replaceable in your business. And that includes you. If you keep all your ideas in your head, then you put yourself at risk that it doesn't work without you. So this is why you need to. I get everybody in my team to document their role. How do you send an email? How do you create a campaign? How to do that? Go to Notion, that section. Go to this, you just do it. So when somebody leaves, okay, go to that Notion marketing. You can see, oh, okay, cool. Somebody has made the video. So we all everything is process driven, right? So I'm not there like, I then delegation. You have to delegate. Power of delegation is that you then empower your team to feel that you trust them. But if you want to be the one to be known in every pot, you're gonna go crazy. So for me, it's like, okay, I know how to do this now. Okay, let me document it. Boop, pass it to somebody else. Now you do it. I was okay. If you try this, okay, document it, pass it to somebody else. Boop, document it, pass it to somebody else. Boop, because it's always documentation and process and systems.
Hmm.
And this way you don't lose your mind. That's rule number one. We document everything, right? And then yeah, and somebody else take over.
So we're almost coming up on time here, and I would like to go into what I call the lightning round. There are no wrong answers.
Mhm.
It's whatever comes first to your mind.
Mhm.
So what is and one thing I know before I even go into this is a lot of the women that I've spoken to, they're intentional about what they do and how they show up in the world. That means that to me, it looks like they have a growth mindset. So I'm always curious to know what the last thing a cutout woman has learned. So what are you learning now? What was the last thing you learned that was like, whoa, that was mind blowing?
What I'm learning now is AI.
Ah,
Yeah,
oh
I'm very big on this.
yeah, that
Because
makes
because
sense.
black guys will have AI, so I need to make sure that I'm on top of it.
Awesome, I like that. What is a favorite book or quote that has influenced the woman that you are today?
It's hard to pick one, but I think is the power of reciprocity. I read that a long time ago.
Mm.
Most people think about relationship by taking, and if you think about giving first, of with authenticity and not calculated, you will get 25 million back. So you might give to someone, but that might not come from that person, but it might come from somebody else. So the power of reciprocity is super key.
I like that. And what would you consider your greatest achievement to date?
I think my greatest achievement to date, it would definitely be the work that I've done with GTA Black Women Tech that gives me the most fulfillment. And the book, and I think the idea that all the stories that we've written are archived at the British Library, that's something that is super important for me. So the books and the story will never be vanished and forgotten.
What matters most to you?
Family values, family and being a good human. I think being a more good human. Money is great, but money is not everything. And I think we often associate success with money, but there's so much more that is the definition of success.
And we kind of talked a little bit about this earlier in the conversation, but in your own words, how would you say what your purpose is? What are you supposed to be doing in this world?
Enable. I'm an enabler. My job is to enable people to find themselves, find the best version of themselves. For everything that I've do has always been about enablement, whatever it is as a fashion stylist, whether when I was helping people build their brand, whatever what I'm doing with DJ Black Women Tech, it's always about that. I'm an enabler. If people have to define me this way, that's how I see it, and therefore everything that I do is around that. Even with my team, I enable to see their greatness. They come, there's some of them a bit more, shy whatsoever, but then they leave and feel so much bigger from what they've achieved.
What is your personal mantra, the words that you live by?
I have so many. when
No,
I
it's
say that,
fine. Okay, fine. I'll give you two.
it's when I just say
Two
like
sets.
everything works out. I always say that everything works out for me. 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 And I think it's very important that we talk to ourselves in a positive manner. Everything works out for me. And therefore, that mindset always helped me find solutions. Like, okay, everything works out for me. Everything works out for me. And I find a solution.
Mm, I like that. If you could go back in
Mm.
time and talk to your younger self, maybe in your 20s, maybe even before you moved to London or when you got to London, what would you tell young Flavilla?
Invest. Invest. Buy some Nvidia stock. Buy some Amazon stock.
I know that's
Yes,
right.
you
Oh
joking?
my
No, I'm
goodness.
joking. I'm not joking. So she was like, invest,
No, no,
buy more
I
property.
agree. I agree with you. All right, three words that you would use to describe you, the Kadara woman.
Three words. I would say glam, funny, and ambitious.
Ooh, I knew ambitious was going to be in there. If you didn't have it in there, I would have given you a fourth word. And what are your thoughts on destiny, which is what Kadara means?
I think destiny is made by by the choices that you make. Isn't it interesting? Because destiny, I think, what is destiny? Destiny is you know. So when you think about it, like as as a as a code, or maybe as a matter of fact. So you know that, for example, if you choose to eat fatty food and stay at home in bed and exercise, your destiny will be, you know, likely any form of disease and cancer whatsoever. So your destiny is molded by the choices that you make every day. So yeah, so a destiny is not so much pre-written. It can still be, I think it's palpable to what you against something, what you believe it is. So your destiny is very much attached to the vision that you set in your mind. So, what is the destiny that you set for yourself? And based on that, you will act on it to achieve that. And this is what I say is like, if you are intentional, you will create the destiny that is the best for you. But if you're intentional, you always you may have nobody choose the destiny to be killed or to die early, right? Sometimes life is what it is. But if you choose, if you are intentional and act on the destiny that you have for yourself, you will get there. I don't know if it makes sense, but in my head it does.
Wow, that is so. Yeah, and I agree with that, and I think it's actually echoes of what a lot of the women who I've interviewed say about destiny. It's at the end of the day, it's what you have to show up for yourself. To summarize that. Last question:
Yeah.
as you look back on your journey to date, what would you say has been the most important thing you've learned about finding and pursuing your purpose?
I think one of the biggest things I've learned is that taking the leap of faith is so important in your life. If you take chances and let fear not be the control of your destiny, then you can achieve great things, right? So think about two of us. We met in Cannes. We both took a plane and decided to go and to the unknown. We were intentional about our destiny, right? And that brought us together. This would have never happened if we let fear be stronger than our desire to achieve our destiny. So it's important to take that leap of faith. Faith, this is what it's always a mental exercise first. Your mental strength determine your physical decision, your actions. So if you start with the mind, if you start with for gratitude and faith and belief, you are good. You will be good.
Mm, yeah, I love that. I love that. Wow, Favila, this has been a very incredible, engaging conversation. And I truly
Yeah.
appreciate your time. I know September, October are very busy, especially in the UK. So thank you for making time to be on the Kadara Woman podcast.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And there you have it, folks. Flavilla Fongang's journey reminds us that our destiny is shaped by the choices we make every day. From embracing the unknown to building powerful networks, her story showcases the importance of being intentional in pursuing your dreams. Remember, as Flavilla says, everything works out for me. It's a mantra that has transformed challenges into opportunities for her. So whether you're starting out or looking to level up, let her wisdom guide you in taking that leap of faith towards your own success. Thank you for tuning into the Kadara Woman podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to rate, review, and reshare. You can also follow us on social media at Kadara Woman. Until next time, this is Lola with the Kadara Woman podcast, reminding you that your Kadara moment of clarity may have already happened, and all you need to do is embrace it. This podcast was created, produced, and recorded by Lola Shaber Harris and sound edited by Mo Isu. The Kadara Woman podcast is a production of Kadara Media.